Welcome to another tutorial, everybody. Hello, and what we are going to draw today are draft horses. Now this is the Belgian breed, very beautiful indeed, and what I did is I was searching Pixabay, and on Pixabay you can get free downloads that you can also use for tutorials on YouTube. And I want to say a special thank you to Daniel's Photo World for sharing this photo, of course. Now on Pixabay the horses are walking from left to right, but I flipped this photo around because I wanted to make them walk controversy the writing way, because I thought it was somewhat more strength. And I also printed out a black and white picture for my study purposes. And what I did for my patrons on my Patreon page is I've made a setup sketch with the very important lines that there are. And I'm using these lines for the withers, the nose line, the croup, the buttock, the belly line and the back line. By the way, the belly line and the back line are equal. And I've measured everything out and I've written everything down. So my patrons have a setup sketch that they can use to print out and help them get started. Now what I also did is I've made a selection. I'm using the Koh-i-Noor color pencils for this drawing. And I've written down each and every number. The paper is Canson gray, mid gray. And I also wrote down all the colors that I used. And they're not much, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. So you can also find this back on my Patreon page. Maybe you want to support me there. It's only $2 per month for the prints and $5 per month for the real-time recordings. So let's get started. Now here on YouTube, of course, I've speeded things up, but I want to give you all the tips that you can use once you are on my Patreon page. And maybe you want to draw along in real time, so that's okay with me. And what I did is I put in the lines as I have done in my for study and for the print. And using those lines, I exactly know where the withers is, the croup, the buttock line, the belly line, the nose line, and where the hooves will go. Then I simply made a very thin sketch with the graphite pencil so I can correct this when I go wrong. Color pencils are somewhat harder to erase, so it's very wise to first get a setup sketch in graphite. And once you are pleased with the drawing as you've drawn it, very thin, then you can switch over to the color pencils. Now here I'm using the Koh-i-Noor black number 36. And all I need to do now is to make that tiny lines that I've set in organic. Now of course I keep a close eye on the anatomy. I know where the joints are, and I also by the way want to draw in the horse that is on the back. But the horse on the back I will give very little detail. Now they both have a color, of course. On the neck, that big broad band, But what is also very typical is that we do not see 4 legs, but actually we see 8 legs. So that can be very confusing, so it's very, very important that you make a close study before you start drawing 2 horses that are side to side. And also there is a lot of armor going on. They have those harnesses on them. And what is also very important is that for that thing in between the horses, that metal bar there goes just behind the 4 legs of the front horse, but the bar there needs to be well, how do I explain? The 4 legs on front are in front of the metal bar, and the 4 legs in the back are behind the metal bar. So please pay close attention to that. What is also very important is to keep sharpening your pencils. When it gets a little bit stumped, I already sharpen it with a very sharp knife. I'm not flattered with pencil sharpeners because they break my points, and then I think that's a pity. So I always use a very sharp knife, and I keep my pencils sharp. There's a lot of harness on these horses, and I try to draw them in with the roundings of the body of the horses. And what I do with my black color pencil is searching for shadows. Now there's also a special reason why I chose the black Canson pastel paper. I mean the gray, because that mid gray will work together with the colors that I'm going to use as I continue the drawing. Now here is the Koh-i-Noor number 1, the white. And that white pencil, I search for the light that is on the hairs of the horse, of course. But I also use the white for the metal that is on the leather of the harness. But the harness itself, I'm not going to give a color. You will see that as I continue. Now here on top of the back, of course, there's a lot of light. So I put in simple number 1 white. And already you are getting a lot more of organic and 3D effect. Because now I have black, gray and white. So there are now 3 kinds of colors going on. I even use a little bit of white for the irons that are on the hooves of the horse. And I will temper it down a little bit, but all that is metal and all that is shine, I'm drawing in with the number 1 Koh-i-Noor pencil white. Then it's time for the 3rd color. That's the brown one, number 32. Now the brown I am using for the mid section of the horse. So you can see it here on the shoulders, a little bit on the legs, on the buttock, a little bit in the ear, and the lower part of the neck. And then I'm switching to the ochre, and the ochre is number 26. Now that ochre I use just below the brown part, so only use it there. Then switch over to the dark pink. This is number 8 of the Koh-i-Noor color pencil set, and I use that a little bit in the midsection and on the top section. Then I switch to the blue. This is number 56, and the blue is used for all those parts that have black hair. Also on the tip of the nose, so it's in the mane, it's in the hairs of the legs, and a little bit in the tail. So these are just a few colors that you can use, and together with the gray of the canson, it gives that kind of a red Roan effect. Now once you have these colors standing, you can go back in with the black color pencil and then start drawing in more detail. I also use it for the second horse that is in the back, who is not getting any color from me, because I just want to make him look like he is the shadow one. But I wanted to try to make it a little bit more artistic. But of course you can choose to draw in both horses. Then go the same way as the front horse, but just make everything a little bit darker. But I chose not to give any color to the harness itself, and also not any color in the second horse in the back. Here I draw in more detail, and I make sure to again sharpen my pencil. As soon as you start drawing in little detail, make sure that your pencil is as sharp as a knife, because that will give it that special effect. And well, you can just here and there put in extra black to make that harness pop out and make it look like it's really dangling over your horse. Now and then I add in a little bit of color. I used a little bit of ochre, a little bit of white again, and I want that neck color to pop out. Not too much, just enough to make a strong appearance that this horse is pulling there. And well, I want to keep it not too worked out all the way, and let the color of the paper shine through my drawing. Now, once your content, of course you can get rid of your little helper lines if they're still there. And to give the horses a place on my drawing sheet, I add a little bit of a ground surface. Maybe I will work it out later, I don't know. But this is what I wanted to show you about drawing with color pencils on the gray console, and how nice it is to draw those magnificent horses. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, and maybe I will see you on my Patreon page. That would be awesome. I will see you again next weekend. Next Friday. Take care.